are at, well, it's 10:01 right now. So being as we do have a quorum, I guess we will go ahead and get started. Probably be some few other folks trickling into the meeting, but we'll go ahead and get started with this at this time. At 10:01, we'll call the meeting to order. And up first would be, as usual, the approval of the agenda. So everybody had a chance to review the agenda. Any recommended changes to the agenda?
There's going to be an added executive session today, sir, on a lease, a discussion on a lease.
Land lease.
Land lease.
Okay. I'll make a note of that.
So I also need to take off under payables that claims 7/9 of 2021. We approved that last meeting. So we just need to approve the payroll 7/20/21.
Okay, so removal of the 7/9/21, the 770-785.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're adding executive session regarding real estate, and then we are removing claims dated 7/9/21, transaction number 770-785. Any other changes to the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved as amended. Let's see, item 3, approval of the meeting minutes from July 14th. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
I would move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
I'd second. This is Dar.
Thanks, Dar. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion?
Dar is an alternate and his voting member is present.
My mistake. I didn't see that. I will mute.
I'll go ahead and second it then.
Okay. Seconded by Andy, I think that was. So any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Up next, I'll check in with Rachel. Do we have anybody in the queue for public comment today?
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep moving along then. Then item 5 would be the payables. So we have before us the payables minus the 7/9/21 listed.
I'd move approval of the payables.
This is
Second.
Hamilton. I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Alan and a second from Andy to approve the payables. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? All right, the payables are approved. And keep moving along here. Financial report.
Okay, if you guys noticed, I did change up the financial report. I wanted something to show a better example of new revenue versus just internal revenue that was going back and forth between different funds. So at the very top under revenues, you'll see a 2021 budgeted beginning fund balance. And next to that, you'll see the budgeted revenues that we plan on getting, and that's new revenues. And then next to that one, you'll see the actual beginning fund balance that we started 2021 with. And the next column is the actual revenues, new revenues that we've received through June of 2021. The remaining revenues is based off of new revenues, and the percent remaining is also based off of new revenues that's coming in. And then at the bottom of the financial report, you'll see internal transfers, and that's money just moving in between our own funds. It's not new revenue. It's just money moving around to cover different expenses in different funds from other funds. And I wanted to break those out for you guys so you could see the actual amount of revenue that we planned on bringing in that was brand new versus just money that's being shifted around.
So when you say under the remaining revenues, Rachel, when you say new, do you mean, is that this synonymous with saying those are the expected future revenues?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Rachel? Okay, I'm not hearing any.
I had one question there, looking at the sales tax revenue was projected at 2.2 million. And looks like actual revenues are 1.3 then. So is that running a little bit ahead of expectations, the sales tax?
It is. I actually believe by the end of the year, we're going to hit probably about 2.6,
Okay, thank you.
possibly a little bit higher. From historical, the last 6 months of the year bring in more revenue than the first 6 months of the year. But with COVID and stuff, I'm not sure if it's going to follow the same trend. But if it does follow the same trend, we'll hit just roughly 2.6, possibly 2.7 if it comes in really high.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So on the remaining, on the sales tax then, you're not really reflecting sort of what you're expecting, Rachel. We just are, that 925, I think, is the balance you're showing of what's expected. But that's just based off sort of history. Is that correct?
That remaining revenue is based off of what we budgeted.
Right.
So we've realistically brought in 1.3. We budgeted to bring in 2.5. So we have 925,000 left to bring in to hit our budgeted number. We will exceed that.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I was clear on that part. Thank
Yep.
you. Anybody else have any questions on the financial report? Or the changes in, I guess, how it's presented? All right, if there aren't any, I don't think we need a motion on that, so we are just good to move on, if I have that right. So after the financial report, we have item 7, which is approval for new facility connections.
This is Deanna's.
I just wanted to come back to the board and get approval to move forward to have discussions with ISP providers, IGN, Washington, WATEC, Lumen, so that we can get those services set up for the new facility so that we have our network, fiber connections, phones, all of that.
Okay. Any questions on that from the group?
Just as your contracts, there's something that we need to
There'll be-
approve or you,
There will be service contracts, and that's probably part 2 of my question. Do you want me to bring those service contracts back to you before we sign them for approval, or do you want me just to move forward? It appears to be pretty standard fees. However, there could be some negotiating with some of the ISP vendors. But like WATEC, they just pretty much have a set amount.
okay, is there the dollar amount? Do you have any idea what that might be?
I'm estimating that all of those services will be around probably $5,000 a month. I'm probably projecting a little high, but
That's for all of them, correct? Together?
Yeah.
combined? Okay.
yeah.
I don't know, do we need that? That authorizes, or is that within the scope of just having staff doing?
You were breaking up a little bit there, Alan. I think you were asking, can we just authorize that? I think without technically approving, looking at a contract or multiple contract. Would it just be, are we talking about multiple
Yeah,
agreements here?
yeah.
Deanna,
Right.
okay.
And they're called service agreements rather than, I guess they're still a contract, but it's a service agreement.
Yeah. I guess I'm just familiar with through the county processes, which is we always look at each of those and, sign those as they get presented. So any thoughts on that for the group? I don't know if you were asking technically for a different process, Deanna. Were you just asking? No?
No, just whatever whatever process you want me to follow. I just didn't want to start moving forward on that. And, at some point we have to sign those agreements. I just want to know how you want us to handle that. And I have no objection of, starting those conversations with the low voltage providers. My CRP consulting team is going to also participate with me, so that, they don't oversell to us and we get, what we need. And that's basically determines the price as well. And we can get those agreements together and then bring them back to the board, send them out in a packet so you have time to review them and go from there.
Okay. I don't have any issue with having you work on those to bring them forward to us.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important that we get started right away on that, so we don't have any lag time.
Yeah, the Watt Tech usually, from what they told us, takes 9 to 10 months. So we're like right kind of on the cusp of that.
Yeah, I would say let's move forward, and then as the agreements become available, then we can review those.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments, questions, concerns?
This is Don from County IT. We just actually went through this with the morgue, getting all those providers in there to the new morgue. And we have the service contracts, but we also had easements that they wanted us to sign that just allow them to have their physical presence to the outside of that building, in case we wanted to turn up service later, like for instance, Comcast, Lumen. And in those cases, the county legal recommendation was to have at least the chairman of the board sign those agreements so that there's kind of a lasting authority there. Just a note from what we just went through.
Okay, so we can expect to see most likely something similar in easement documents as well.
Yeah, I think Longview has already signed one of the easements, I believe for Comcast. Adam was working on it. Kurt, do you know?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. But I'd be happy to follow up with him on that.
Okay.
Okay. Just hearing if there's anybody have any issues with having Deanna go forward and work on those agreements and get that process rolling sooner than later. I mean, it sounds like we'll get the chance to see those as they come forward ultimately, but okay, I'm not hearing any objections there, Deanna.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Then moving on, item 8, I guess first off, any general board comments?
I'd certainly like to see more pictures, construction pictures as they're available.
Absolutely, we can get them to you.
Yep, that was
Appreciate that.
nice to see.
Also, Alan, as I'm getting the pictures forwarded to me, I'm putting them on the Cowlitz website. So in that scroll of
Oh.
pictures where we did the groundbreaking and stuff, they'll come through and it's showing like the walls being put up and stuff. But I'm adding them every time I get them.
Okay, cool. That's great to hear.
Okay.
Just a quick question for Dave on that too. Are you taking, I know you're out there quite a bit. Are you taking one like say every week from the same perspective? So when it's all said and done, you can just run those and go from bare ground to the finished product, like in about 30 seconds. Those are kind of neat to see.
Yes, we're doing that. It's probably every 2 weeks instead of every week.
Okay, I'm easily amused, but I enjoy those.
Okay. Well, we'll take care of that now that we're going vertical, or it should start making some significant changes.
All right. How about committee reports? Any updates from the Law TAC?
No, Troy Brightbill's not on. He gave a report at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, and they have not met since then.
Okay. Thanks, Sheriff. I'm assuming then that's similar. Are we similar for the fire TAC side?
Yeah, it's correct. They have not met since our last meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I guess then that brings us up to item 9, Director's Report.
All right, so first of all, on the staff update, we did lose a trainee this week. While we did hire a class of 6 trainees, our staffing update right now is 16 dispatchers and 1 trainee on the floor and 6 that are in the classroom. 1 dispatcher is off on long-term illness. Unfortunately, COVID also has hit their family. And we also have another dispatcher's family who's currently testing for COVID. So COVID still is alive and well here in the dispatch center. So, we're doing our best to keep it out of here. All 6 trainees are set to embark on an academy lasting to mid-September, and that will give them the building blocks on how to dispatch before they team up with a trainer on the air for their full shift. Going to climate and culture, the call load increase in summer is always anticipated, but the loss of dispatchers earlier this year and those who did not make it through the training this past year have been the cause of some anticipated staffing issues. Although this is an industry-wide dilemma, Cowlitz 911, with the prior approval of the board of directors, have begun to deal with this by correcting the issue by starting the dispatcher academy this past week. The lag time to get trained dispatchers on the floor is somewhere between 8 and 12 months. So relief will be on the way in the first or second quarter of 2022. The liaison program is now in full swing. This gets the dispatchers out to their assigned agencies to build on the relationships and to troubleshoot dispatching issues with the field responders. And both the agencies and our dispatchers are reporting that that's a successful program so far. Last Thursday, the dispatchers got some relief from several weeks of lack of air conditioning in the Hall of Justice. So working conditions back in the Hall of Justice here are the way they were a few weeks ago. So that's good. And then lastly, and this is something that's going to hit both the Law TAC and the police agencies, the fire agencies as a whole. Last Sunday, the state mandates on police use of forces and training took effect. I've issued some general guidelines, and I expect we will continue to adjust the dispatch protocols as the user agencies learn what calls for service they will respond to. We are the support entity to the user agencies, and we're kind of awaiting the direction before we change any dispatch procedures. I've talked at length with Troy Brightbill at the Law Tech, and we're going to address this thoroughly through dispatch protocols as this thing progresses. Like I said, it just took place midnight this past weekend on Sunday morning. Facility update. 3 items to discuss about the new facility. First, the construction has started to go vertical, and I updated the group with a photo of the first interior wall that was installed yesterday. Second, we've also experienced 2 incidences regarding security at the construction site. The trespass at the construction site many weeks ago, and now a theft of some copper. Third, I've received an estimate from the security camera for the new center. That estimate from the company that was provided to me was 2 cameras, installation, licensing, and a hotspot for a year is $7,339 plus Washington state tax. And wanted to know whether we not wanted to go into discussion over that, whether or not we should go with this company.
Okay, thanks, Dave. So that's a question I think that the sheriff had brought up, was the ability to put a camera out there on site, both for, I guess, consumption of the board, so we can check in on the project, maybe something for maybe if it's accessible to the public, for them to be able to check in and they find the project interesting, but also the other side is for security purposes. So that's the cost. Dave did the kind of the homework investigation on that. Any thoughts from the board, Sheriff? Oh, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
I was going to say that I did the walkthrough with the installer company, and we made sure that the places where the cameras would be are at the right locations. And then we got the all-encompassing, the licensing, and getting the hotspot to make sure that we can get this out on the internet and that sort of thing. At the end of this, we would own those 2 cameras that are part of this thing. So that's kind of the all-encompassing estimate.
And do you anticipate this carrying over once the center's open, having those security cameras there as well?
The security cameras would be ours. I mean, they would be owned by us, and we can use them in any way that we wanted to. So we're going to look at the security cameras that are part of the project and see whether or not these cameras can be added to it or supplemented or whatever. So yeah, we would look at these cameras for some use after the construction is over with.
Okay. Anybody else, questions, comments regarding the camera proposal?
Does the 7,000, is that if that includes the 7,000, includes monitoring of that, or is that just the cost of the cameras and the installation and everything?
Yes, the cameras, the installation, the Wi-Fi hotspot for a year, all that is included. They're not going to monitor it. It would be up for us to monitor that.
Okay. So those cameras would be on all the time then? Do we record that, or is there some means to record that?
Yes, there are ways to, or there would be ways to keep the images so that we could prosecute if something happened. But the way that I had explained it to the installer was we really wanted something that we could immediately get the police over there. And obviously, because we're the 911 center, we could probably get the police over there about as fast as possible, since we've got a direct line to them.
So Dave, maybe
Go ahead, Kurt.
Okay, sorry. So Dave, a couple of questions. One I was going to ask. So the resolution, if I understand correctly, is strong enough that it would depict faces that we could follow up on if there were an event there. Is that correct?
This is correct, and I told him that that wasn't the primary objective. The primary objective was prevention of when they actually enter the facility, that we would be able to get the police over there. But it does have resolution to where we could prosecute if it were something that the police couldn't catch them in progress.
And the other question, I guess, follow-up I had was, and I may have missed this part of it. Were there multiple offers on this, bidders, if you will, or was it just the one firm that we checked with?
No, this is the one that was suggested to me, and I followed up with this company. I did not get a multiple offer on this, and I did send the contract over to Frank for him to look at in case this was something that the board wanted me to follow up on.
Yeah, I like the idea of having the security and also the ability to, act quickly if there is an event that should take place. Personally, I'd like perhaps to see if we could get a couple more offers just to make sure that, this is in the realm of what's reasonable or not, because, personally, I guess I don't have that experience, but I'll leave that up to the board ultimately, however we wish to go. But I support this project.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. Anybody else have any thoughts? I guess as of right now, it's go or no go. And then there's also the question that Kurt brought up, which is, we're interested, but we want to get more proposals on cost. Any thoughts?
How about if we give Dave the authority to move ahead, but ask him to get a couple more quotes, so long as they're, and then let him have the authority to pick the best one. We've got one for 7, as long as it's not really above that. Can we do with it?
Okay. I think you're breaking up a little bit, Alan, but I think you were saying give Dave the authority to move forward with the project, have him investigate and get, maybe 1 or 2 more proposals, and let him pick out of that.
I would second that.
Right.
proposal.
That's what.
All right. Is that a motion, Alan?
Sure, I'll make an emotion, and sounds like the sheriff is ready to second it, so.
Okay.
That's correct. I second.
All right. We have a motion and a second then to give Dave the authorization to proceed with the camera project at the new facility site, as well as requesting he get another, I don't know if we specifically need to tell him, but 1 or 2 more proposals for the project, and let him pick what he deems is the best. Is there any discussion on that?
Right.
Did you have something, Alan? Might be broken up there. All right.
No, that's right on with what I'm.
Okay. Then I will ask call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed out there? Yeah. I don't know if you were trying to chime in again, Alan, but I didn't hear any opposed. Sound like they were all ayes, so believe that motion passes. Any questions, Dave, on that? Are you good? Clear?
Yeah, I understand where we're going with this.
Okay. All right.
I've still got more of the report to go.
Yep. Take it away.
Okay, so the contractor continues to report that the facility will be completed by January 4th. And then that's where we're gonna take over and start putting the equipment in the center. Radio infrastructure. On the Hall of Justice on Thursday morning between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m., Dave Wireless will be replacing the microwave link between the Hall of Justice and Rainier. During the replacement, dispatch will operate on backup radios. There's also an antenna issue on the Hall of Justice Backup 3, which has us borrowing Kalama's antenna until the two are on order arrive. Once the antenna arrive, work will again begin on the Kalama interface. The Woodland Tower. The geo study performed on Friday, July 23rd is completed, and we will have a report back within about 10 days. Going to Baker's Corner, a building permit request and check for fees have been submitted, and Dave Wireless is submitting the permit for the electrical. Once the permits are approved, installation of a shelter, electrical, and equipment will be performed. Castle Rock High School Tower. We're still working with US Cellular Legal, Our Legal, and WCIA on insurance language. The building permit has been issued, and Dave Wireless will be obtaining the electrical permit for the site. Davis Peak, we've identified an issue with overgrown trees and branches interfering with the microwave path, and we're now working with DNR to obtain permission or a permit to cut down the branches and trees. Davis to the Woodland site, there's a replacement dish and microwave link on order for this site. The Rainier Hill, we've done the removal and replacement of failed system alignment antenna at the Rainier Hill Tower, which is our prime site. We're currently borrowing an antenna to keep the prime site operational, and the new antenna is on order. At Columbia Heights Shelter, we found that there's some dry rot at the shelter up there, so that we sent a bid out to the small works roster for repairs to the exterior of that shelter. An updated report on the radio issues that occurred on Monday, July 26th with the county sheriffs, Longview PD, and fire frequencies was a result of pending microwave issues and anticipated fixes at the Hall of Justice, Rainier, and Davis. Note that on Monday, the system restored within about 5 minutes and is stable for now. Replacing the microwaves at the Hall of Justice, Rainier, and once equipment arrives for Davis will mitigate future similar instances. Also on July 26th, interruption of a mobile services was the result of a failed dummy switch that connects multiple service applications with Intergraph servers. Dave Wireless identified the problem with the county switch and assisted in replacing the failed switch with an abandoned switch that we had on site. County will provide a new switch this week, so there will be a temporary interruption of services while the switch is being replaced. We'll provide advanced notification when that work is underway. That's the end of the radio infrastructure. Any questions on any of those?
Yeah, Dave, this is Vic. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat what I thought I heard about our antenna?
So the antenna is being used right now for the Hall of Justice antenna that went down. Am I correct? Yes, that's what's happening right at the moment.
I support folks helping each other out. I'm just curious who had conversation and I guess authorized that.
Data Wireless needed to do it to keep that link up.
Okay. That's a little concerning, but okay. It'd be
It is.
nice. I guess it would be nice that somebody ask first.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Dave regarding the radio infrastructure or anything else? I had one, I guess, on the redundancy topic. Maybe this is for Deanna. Are you still looking at the space in the sheriff's office as a backup location?
Yeah, so our consultants and county IT and the sheriff did another walkthrough. The sheriff and IT identified a room that, I don't know what they used it for before, but it's a room behind records where as our equipment comes in, we can secure it in that room. And we will stage some of it in the data center that is currently also in that area behind records. I am going to reach out to facilities about a couple of things, possibly an HVAC solution and power and UPS, just to clarify some questions that came up. But right now, yes, that is still the plan, that we will set up as the backup site in that data center there.
Okay, thank you, Deanna. Any questions before we move on? All right, not hearing any. Thank you, Dave, for the updates. Then next would be anything for old business. Anybody have anything? Okay, not hearing any. We'll keep chugging along. So we did add an executive session for today. This would be an executive session to discuss, I guess, technically it's the price of real estate acquisition. Specifically, we're just discussing a land lease, it sounds like. How much time would we like for that?
Probably 5 minutes is plenty.
5 minutes, okay. So we'll, I don't know, give us a minute to get everything switched around. I guess I don't want to rush Rachel. She has to move people around. So we will go into executive session. We'll call it at 10:41 and be for 5 minutes. So to 10:46, unless we need to extend.
Looks like it's still waiting for some of you guys to go into the room, to allow yourselves into the room. Kurt, do you see the join executive session option? Or join a breakout room? Perfect. Alan, I'm not sure how to get you in there. Are you seeing an option for a breakout room? Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't like assign him, so I'm not sure how to move him over. I can just start. Yeah, he's just sitting here. I just don't know how to move him.
Rachel, can you hear me? This is Frank.
I can.
I'm having a video, I have an audio problem, so I don't think I can talk in the executive session, but I don't think that's important.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Alan's showing he's in there. Is he in there now? in a board meeting. This board meeting's over. Are you done? No worries.
All right, we're back on the other side. So I think we got about 1 minute, I think. And then we can resume open session.
Joe, there's a message in the chat for you.
There is, I clicked on the chat. I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. I will wait till 10:51 and then I will read it to you. Okay, so Jerry is asking if he can ask a question after we're back related to the changes in the law that happened starting on the 26th. Is CASPIC working on a collective policy or a statement related to this? And would it be appropriate to open communications with the chiefs and the sheriff to discuss some of the fallout that is affecting the comm center as a result?
Is that from Jerry Jensen?
It is.
Okay. Well, I think, Troy Brightbill has been working with Dave. He's chief of the LTAC. I think that'd be probably the appropriate venue to discuss dispatch protocols. And I've had some discussions, but maybe our representatives on LTAC can meet. And I think, at least as far as Troy goes, I know he has a clear direction from me and on where to go for the sheriff's office. And I know where Chief Huda and Kirk and the other chiefs are in terms of their captains or being able to give input in that direction.
Thanks,
And Rachel, from the fire chief's side, we've kind of divvied up some tasks. I know that Chief Neves probably has touched bases with Dar over at Kelso, and Robert, I don't know if he's touched bases with you, but he's kind of our liaison to the LE side. And I know that we're going to be having much discussion on this at our Chiefs meeting on August 3rd.
All right, thanks. Vic, go ahead, Chief Fuda.
I haven't talked with Chief Neves yet about it, but we've been in talks with Chief Cambites and staff at Long Fire.
Thank you. So I guess just officially, we are at 10:52. We came out of executive session back into open session at 10:51 officially. And those comments were related to a question we had received, I guess, online about impacts regarding new law enforcement legislation. And so it sounds like from what everybody is saying is there's folks are going to put their heads together both on the, I guess, law enforcement side. And, you know, Vic was saying their group was meeting as well, their law enforcement liaison. So everybody's looking at it, and I guess more to come as entities iron out how they are changing protocols or adjusting to the new legislation.
Yeah, I had talked with Troy through the law TAC, and then I had met with Brandon. I know that we weren't going to have a fire TAC this past month, so I met with both of them regarding this issue. I think what Jerry is really talking about is that we are getting a lot of pushback on the air, and I think that he's speaking for the dispatchers is what's happening right now. So I mean, we're going to get everything together and come up with a collective how we're going to handle this thing. And that was kind of what my director's report was all about on that subject.
Yeah.
Joe, if I could just speak for a quick second. I'd like to think that we could have some clarity on a lot of these issues pretty quickly, but that's just not going to be the case. We're still waiting for rules to be made and laws to be clarified at the AG's level. I know there's been pushback from line staff to dispatch. A lot of that is based on some personal liability, and the way the law is written now, it's personal liability as broadened on the law enforcement side. So right now it's case by case. We're working it out. I'd be happy to talk with Jerry and explain some of that. I think we are going to have protocols that sort of, you know, clarify things later, but I just don't know that that's going to happen very quickly. So it's going to be a work in progress.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a work in progress, and I gave out direction to the dispatchers to put into place on when the law took effect this past weekend. And, you know, that direction was to create the call as we always have and let the law enforcement dispo it the way they believe is appropriate, because they're the entity that's going to have to handle it. And as we learn what law enforcement wants us to do for dispatch protocol, we will be the appropriate support entity and do what law enforcement as a collective entity wants us to do.
And I think one of the complaints, and I'm just guessing, I haven't heard this on the air, but one of the complaints is going to be that law enforcement is simply asking more clarifying questions about these calls. And I know that's frustrating from a dispatcher's point of view when they simply don't have the answers to many of the questions, but that's okay. That they don't have the answers is okay. Really, us asking the question is probably the critical piece to that. And I know it's frustrating to the dispatchers.
So this is Jerry. Really, very briefly, in a nutshell, it's not that. I think we all really understand that this is a moving target right now, and that there's a lot that is yet to be determined. Some of the frustration is it's really just becoming a turf war, and we're making phone calls to agencies, telling them, agencies and people telling them that we're not responding. And I'm just not sure that I'm comfortable with dispatch staff necessarily having to explain the decision that's being made by the agencies on responding or not. So that in a nutshell, I mean, I understand this is really putting us all in a new light, trying to work through all of this. But very briefly, that is the kind of the biggest concern is somebody's looking at it and it's a quick, turf it to emergency mental health, or call them back, tell them we're not coming, that kind of thing, which puts the staff in a position of trying to articulate the position and the decision that was made.
Jerry, I'm on Kelsa's behalf. I'm going to put a memo out after this meeting to everybody that we will make those calls when we decide not to go to a call. If it's another agency or a RP that wants contact, we'll make those calls.
Much appreciated.
That's the direction that's been given to Longview staff now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Robert.
And what I thought Dave put out was appropriate. Dispatch needs to take the same calls, intercalls, and the outcome may be different. But if you could keep track of those, Jerry, and let us know if there's a general class of calls that we need to look at and change the protocol for it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. That was really I understand this is going to take some time to iron out, but it's really caused some heartburn for staff just trying to figure out how best to handle this and kind of left them feeling a little more vulnerable.
Yep, we'll get the message out, Jerry.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I have a question, and maybe directed more towards Robert than the 911 staff here. But as we begin to bring on our behavioral specialists and mental health teams, hopefully throughout the county, do you think how we respond or if we respond might change on these types of mental health calls?
Absolutely. That'll be part of the protocols that we're working on with Columbia Wellness as we have our embedded mental health professionals with the agencies.
Great. I didn't want to put you on the spot, Robert, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. That does, I think, get us through everything we had listed on the agenda. Anybody have anything for the good of the order before we all sign off of here? The clock is about to strike 11 o'clock, so if we hurry, we can make it under 1 hour. Okay, well, that's the case, then everybody have a good rest of your day. And